Thank you so much, brother, for that reading of today's daily word, to be of service. You know, generally, when we come around this time of the year and we know that we are going to be honoring Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., most people bring forward the dream that Dr. King held for unity, for oneness to prevail. And we are reminded often of this dream, and that this dream is a possibility. And those of us who have been on the planet for as long as we have seen that we are collectively making steps toward the realization of that dream. The great thing about a dream for oneness and unity is that there's no ceiling to it. There is no end to it. There are always more who are outside of the circle of welcome that can be welcomed in. And I would like to applaud the progress that humanity has been making. Another thing that Dr. King brought forward that impressed me deeply is in alignment with today's daily word. And it's something that I remember for myself. And it's all about doing whatever we do as a service to the very best of our ability, to give it 100%. As I was saying that, my eyes focused on my brother Raleigh. And I thought about him and the service to this community, brother, that you have demonstrated through thick and thin. It's not that your own life is without challenge and is just moving along smoothly without a ripple. And therefore you have the time and energy to put in such as you have over these years. No, your life is full as well. Sometimes your own cup is running over with things that you need to attend to for yourself, for your wife, for your family, and just for your own living on planet Earth. But you step forward here to be in service, to allow this ministry to continue and to grow, even after the visitation of COVID, which shut us in and pushed us into a requirement for having technology be our mode of gathering. What Dr. King said is that to do everything that you do to the best of your ability, treat what you do as a work of art. If you're a school teacher, go for being the best school teacher your students have ever had. The teacher that they are excited to get to class with. The teacher that inspires them to be more, to do more, and to have more. Be a teacher so that the end of your teaching year or your semester or your term, you would be proud to write your signature as though your work were a piece of art. If you're a parent, be the best parent you possibly can be. One that your children are grateful to have as a mentor and as a model. Be that kind of parent that you would be proud to write your signature on a paper describing your influence over your child with the same pride as an artist would have as they signature their painting or their sculpture. He said, it doesn't matter what your task is, what your place of service is, or what your form of service is. He says it will bring you great joy, great satisfaction, and will forward your feeling of self-worth if you give it all you have. Give it the fullness of your beingness. It doesn't matter what the task is. He said, if you're a street sweeper and you are assigned 7 streets in a city, sweep those 7 streets so well that you would be proud to signature each one as an artist would signature their painting or their sculpture or their stained glass piece or whatever. You see, being of full service and giving the fullness of your beingness in service increases what we think about who we are, increases our sense of being valuable, and being of value. It would be nice for other people to see our signatures and for them to be pleased. But primarily, it is a joy to me to signature my piece of art, knowing that I have given my all to it. I know that each and every one of us are influencers. I know that each and every one of us are in service to someone or to some cause. Let's remember in this new year that our greatest joy is being our greatest self in everything that we do, not on our own power, but by the power of God within us, expressing through us and living as us. At the end of the year, I ask myself many questions. I do a self-examination of who Carlos has been during the course of the year, who he has chosen to be, which then sponsors what he chooses to do, which then opens the window to what he will have. I look at my life to make sure that I have not gotten the cart before the horse, that I have not lived a year concentrating on getting, thinking that if I have something that I don't have, then I can do something that I'm not doing. Then I can be someone I'm not being. I look over my life completely under a microscope. Because if I identify any arenas of my life where I'm out to get, where I'm believing that I need to have something I don't have in order to do something I'm not doing, in order to be someone I'm not being, I want to catch myself and go, that's the cart before the horse. That is a distraction. That is not what I was born to do. And therefore, it can bring me no lasting peace or happiness. It places my good outside of me. And so I notice the time I may have done it then and there. And I don't shame or blame myself for having stepped outside of the garden of personal responsibility for my own excellence. I simply take note and remind myself, oh, you only did that so that you can stop doing that, so that I get back on track. And because I'm involved in the Unity Ministries, at the end of the year, I do several days of looking inside to see how I'm doing with that 5th principle. Because clearly, when I look at my life, it's clear to see that I do know and I do understand the laws of life, also called truth. What I'm looking for is the evidence of it. I'm looking for the realization and the manifestation of unity principle number 5. Yes, Carlos, you know, and you understand the laws of life, also called truth. What I'm looking for, as I examine you and your beingness and doingness and havingness in this whole year, 2023, that is ending now, I want to look at how you've done at living the truth. You know, I have been involved in spiritual and religious arenas all my life. And I see how fluent so many people are in the talking of the truth. I've known more ministers than I can count who are eloquent speakers. They have charisma. They have fire in their tone and in their voice. They can have you sitting on the edge of your seat, leaning in, clinging to every word. They can have you stomping your feet and clapping your hands and shouting out loud in the spirit because they've got the gift of gab. It's a pleasure to be in their company. But my real thought is, it would be wonderful to know that they are living the truth they know. Many were, and others were not. And the beauty and the perfection of me bearing witness to both was that I got to choose which I choose to be. I have had a mantra and a prayer since I was a kid. Let me live the truth I know. Let me be authentic. Let me always practice what I preach. I left show business to be in God's business. And I refuse to bring show business into God's business. We're about to celebrate on this coming Easter 25 years of ministry at Unity of New York. 25 years ago, we gathered together and committed ourselves to creating a gathering place of Unity students, a church, not in honor of our humanity, but in honor of our divinity. We collectively and individually committed ourselves to being about the business of living the truth we know, and of being an example to anyone who had never run into unity as a philosophy, unity as a church or an organization, or unity people. We committed ourselves to being the best me I can be in a way that I would be proud to signature, so that anyone who discovered I was connected to unity and its principles would want to lean in, would want to join in, would want some of what I got. I remember years ago, perhaps it was 18 years ago, that a unity minister leaned into me after I preached a sermon. And he said, "Can I give you a little advice?" New York is not Massachusetts. I went, yeah, and he went, people in Massachusetts and people in other churches outside of New York and LA, they probably are interested in the messages that such as you bring, which seem to be devoted to getting us to transform our mind into Christ consciousness, to lean into the mastery of the art of forgiveness, to practice letting go, to meditate and make direct connection with the source. He said, all of that is wonderful, but you need to realize, Reverend Carlos, it's not really needed here. New York people prefer to be entertained and thrilled rather than transformed. I looked at my brother and said, it's clear to me that you are speaking for yourself. And you are referring to it as speaking for the people of New York. And so all the people of New York who gather together in churches and unity centers and science of mind gatherings, that they don't want transformation, that their goal is not peace in their hearts and in their worlds, that they really don't want to trade in being fearful human beings for the choice of being fearless spirit beings. You are telling me that the people want to be entertained. Well, I believe, brother, that entertainment has its place, and that the cup of entertainment arenas in New York City is filled and running over. But when I drive to New York to preach, I am not driving to entertain. I am not interested in people going, wow, he sure can preach. Wow, he's eloquent. Wow, he has so many Carlosisms. I write them down. No, brother. Knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, are just the beginning. I must also live the truth I know. And unless I am fired from this church, I can be counted on as an influencer in this church to continue to influence myself, my sisters, and my brothers toward the transformation of their minds and therefore their experience. I truly believe that it is possible for us to grow more and more and more and more out of fearfulness and more and more and more and more into a place of fearlessness. I really do believe the principles. I truly do believe the peace song lyrics. I truly do believe that the light of God surrounds me and that I am that light, that the love of God enfolds me and I am that love, that the power of God protects me and I am that power. The presence of God watches over me and I am that presence. I believe it, brother, whether you do or not. And I think it's important, brother, whether you do or not, that I deepen this knowing within myself and sponsor its deepening in my sisters and brothers. This is not show business for me. This is God business for me. And so one of the questions I ask myself at the end of the year as I do my self-examination, that, as I've said, is surrounded and organized around that fifth principle. When I acknowledge that, yes, I do know, and yes, I do understand the laws of life, also called truth. What I want to notice is my ever increasing mastery in living the truth I know. I ask myself this question, and I'm sure if you've been here over the years with Unity in the City, it is quite possible that this is not your first time hearing me speak what I'm about to speak. This is an important question I ask myself. And it's a question that I forward to you in the event that you are interested in asking it of yourself. Here at the beginning of a brand new year and a brand new opportunity and a brand new me. Carlos, if you were arrested and charged with believing that the principles of unity have the power to lead you into a greater experience of peace and power and joy and a living life. If you were arrested and charged with truly believing the light of God surrounds you, not just saying it, not just memorizing it, not just repeating it as a mantra, which Jesus calls vain repetition, I can spout those principles off at the drop of a hat. I can spout those principles off. If you wake me up in the middle of my sleep, oh, I can spout those principles off anytime, anywhere, for anybody. If I am arrested and charged with believing them and working them, if I am arrested and charged with truly believing and actioning the power of forgiveness, the power of dropping the rock, the power of letting go of someone I'm holding in a chokehold, therefore to not only free them, but me. If you are arrested, Carlos Lane, and charged with taking this stuff seriously and really being about being all you can be and all you were born to be, if I were arrested and charged with being very serious about discontinuing being reactive, judgmental, accusatory, arrested and charged with refusing to lean into self-righteousness, would they keep me? Or would I be released for lack of evidence? If charged with believing that I am the light of God, the love of God, the power of God, and the presence of God, and so are you and you and you and you and you, would they keep me? Or would they release me for lack of evidence? If I were arrested and charged with giving my all to the living out of the principles, would they keep me? Or would I be released for lack of evidence? If I were to be arrested and charged with giving the fullness of myself to being the light of the world, would they keep me? Or would I be released for lack of evidence? I left show business to be in God business. And if I were arrested and accused of being a preacher who practices what he preaches, who does what he encourages others to do, to take the time, to take a selah, to take a break, to close your eyes, to breathe into your heart, the meeting place of your humanity with your divinity, to devote yourself, to accept each moment as an opportunity to recreate yourself anew as the next grandest version of the greatest vision ever you've held of who it is possible for you to be. I don't believe that they would release me for lack of evidence. I look at the year 2023 and I have cried at the many, many, many displays of evidence in the life of Carlos Wayne Anderson. I've seen him drop the rock he had picked up to stone another. And I have watched him stoop down to pick up a rock and choose not to. I have seen his hours of meditation and prayer. I have seen his gifts of service. I have seen him return being cursed with laughter. That guy's serious. No show business for him. God business. No ceiling. Moredom. 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 When King David's time was over, and it was now Solomon, his son's time to be ready to be king. God spoke to Solomon and said, ask for whatever you want, and I'll give it to you. Solomon said, anything? Yes, anything. All of the riches of the world, clout, power, wives beyond number. What do you want, Solly? Solly said, more God and more wisdom. Mm. I got that in Sunday school when I was 8 years old. My Aunt Audrey was teaching Sunday school, and she says, "Ain't that something? All he wanted was more God and more wisdom, God's wisdom, divine wisdom." And listen to what God says next. "Sally, you could have asked for riches and power, but you only asked for more of me and my mind. Therefore, I give you me and more of my mind. And I will add the riches, the power, and the earthly clout as simply icing on your cake." I remember going, wow, Aunt Audrey, he cut right to the chase, didn't he? Instead of asking for things and stuff, he asked for more of the one that's got all the things and stuff. Carly boy, you got that right. You're a good student. I sure do intend to be, Aunt Audrey. And Aunt Audrey ended our class by going, "Somebody say amen." Amen.